the record button.
Got it.
Okay, showing up. Love it already. Okay, good morning, guys. So welcome to our Crown Listing Lab. So this is the idea behind this whole concept is focusing on listings this year. As the market transitions, we're going to do everything we can to help equip you to modify your business to get to the point where you really need a lot of success in securing listings. So really, the next couple of weeks, we're going to take time and we are going to do pretty much nothing but dive into your listing presentation. Okay. And so what that means is there's a couple of ways that you can look at listing presentations, right? You can look at it as a guide. You can look at it as a drop off, if you will. You can look at it as a conversation. Neither way is wrong necessarily. Okay. So there are a lot of ways to look at this. And specifically, we want to talk about the listing presentation. Now, in order to get to that space, you obviously have to get the appointment, and that's what the listing league will be coming up after this. I think Aprilish. I think we're starting that. Is that right, Mark? Yeah,
Yep,
Aprilish.
April 8th.
April 8th. We did it last year. It was a pretty fun time.
Hmm.
We will do that again. And so again, we'll see how everybody does inside that space. But it was fun. I had a great time. So from that, a little bit of what we're going to work on here is really diving through the process of how do you build out a good listing presentation and what does that look like. That's really what we're going to talk about. In that space, today I'm going to share with you there's homework involved. By the way, in all of this, I'm not going to do it for you unless you want to pay me money, and then I will build you a super like kick-ass listing presentation. However, I think you can do a better job than I can. Okay. So really what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about, I've kind of crafted and come up with about 17 different building blocks of a good listing presentation. Then we're going to talk a little bit about your personal introduction. If you haven't rewritten your bio recently, I'm going to share with you a training we've done in the past on how to write that. ChatGPT, Remy will do wonders for you in helping you write your bio, by the way. And then also share with you high level a little bit about defining some of the brand story, some of the components there that you can touch on, in addition to what I have now in the last 2 years, by the way. So I've been teaching the menu of services. You guys hopefully all are aware that this is a concept that I teach based upon commission rates. I don't believe one commission is right for everybody. So I think you, as a service-based industry, just like you can order combo meals and different things, I think there's opportunities for different tiers of different levels of services. And so those are some of the things we're going to talk about too, and provide you with frameworks and options that you can rip off and duplicate. But ultimately, it is going to take some time. So as we begin to work through some of this, the big thing we want to really kind of encourage you is to say, hey, we have really great tools, really great assets that are available to you in a way to build out your business. So again, I want to be really clear. This is the Crown Listing Lab. It is really Regina's listing lab. It's really Tyler's, it's Mike's, it's Keegan's, it's Jay's, it's Brian's, right? Like it is your guys' book of business, except for Tyler. Tyler, it might be the rep team, but nevertheless, right? It is your business, and we want it to be specific to you and how you run your business, and that's how we want to talk about it. Okay, so before we really dive in, I think everybody knows everybody, but in case they don't, I want to run around the screen. We're just going to do a quick intro because we're going to be together, and it's going to be kind of intense for a little bit here. And so I want to just run around, introduce yourself, who you are, your office, and your favorite fast food place.
All right, Javon Bank. Been in the business for 5 years. I'm located out of the Alexandria office, and my favorite fast food is Raising Cane's and Whataburger.
And what a burger. I love that. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Who's
I'm
next?
Regina. Oh, you go. Go, Tyler.
Oh, sorry. I'm Tyler Hendrickson. I'm working out of the Coldwell Banker Crown Realtors here in Crosby. And my favorite fast food, probably be something I haven't had in a long time, In-N-Out.
Ooh, like the In-N-Out sauce too, I assume.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, like why would you not have that? I love that. It's great. Good. Thanks, buddy.
I'm Regina Casey, working out of the Fargo office. I've been in the business for just about 4 years now. Favorite fast food is probably Taco Bell, which I don't like to admit publicly.
It's delicious though.
Every
And I
now and
worked
then.
there, right? I worked at Taco Bell. That was my first real job and everything. And I still eat there. So I think that tells you something. After you work
Oh,
in fast food, if you still eat there, I think it says something. So
it's a good
love that.
sign. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go. I'm Keegan. I'm working out of the Park Rapids office, been licensed and working for 3 years now. And I would say my favorite is A&W.
Mm.
Mhm.
Love it. Brian, you can't ignore it. Mike, you can't ignore the questions. I'm just going to let you know.
Okay, I'll go. I'm Sean Sable. I'm the managing director in the Fargo office. I've been here with Crown since October 1st of 24, and I've been a licensed realtor and a broker since 2001. 25 years, I think. I'd have to say my favorite fast food is McDonald's breakfast because I find myself going there once a week. So I have to admit it. It's the number one with a kicker. I always say that, which is the breakfast burrito. So I get the Egg McMuffin, the hash brown, and a kicker, which is the sausage burrito and a Diet Coke.
I love it.
Breakfast of champions.
That's right. Oh gosh, that's almost as bad as my realtor dinner, which is really just pizza from Casey's gas station in my car as I drive between appointments.
Of course, you're 20 minutes early too, right, Brandon?
Nothing wrong with
Yeah.
Casey's pizza.
Oh goodness, Mike, what about you?
I'm up at the Crosby location, Crown Realtors up here, and I've been a licensed agent for 10 years, mostly part-time. I had a full-time job at part-time doing my own transactions, friends and family, and anybody who just wants something done. I took care of that part-time, and I just became full-time a couple weeks ago. And yeah, so hopefully that gets going. And I'm probably the only one that doesn't eat fast food, but I do not eat fast food. My wife and I are on diets and have been ever since my heart surgery years ago. So I haven't really eaten out much fast food. But the best restaurant around town is Trailside Crosby. That's Vern's place.
Trailside is pretty good. So
Yeah,
okay, so I have to ask.
That's not fast food, but it's my favorite.
So what's your go-to, like, because I'm assuming if you don't eat fast food, you and your bride must meal prep enough, and you got to have something at home that's like I'm running late, I just got to eat something. This is what I'm taking with me.
Yep.
Peanuts,
almonds, cheese, stuff like that. I mean, it's just healthier stuff.
Okay. Well, we should have made Mike go last. I'm sorry, Brian. Tell us about you.
Brian Wickman, Park Rapids office. I try not to eat too much fast food, but I like Great Northern in Park Rapids, the restaurant, and part-time, but I held a real estate license in this Buffalo area too in 2010, but I've been with Park Rapids Coldwell Banker for, I think, going on 4 years. Somewhere in there.
Love it. Good. Thank you. Katie?
I'm Katie. I'm based in the Park Rapids office. I'm one of the managing directors here. And my guilty pleasure is Burger King breakfast burritos, which are
so good.
So much better than the McDonald's ones. Yep. They have a nice big piece of sausage in there. It's fantastic. Yep.
Yeah, so that was a sad thing. So both the Burger Kings in Alexandria closed during COVID because they were poorly run. Terrible. Anyway, and I lost the Eggnormous burrito, it's great. So here's a fun story. If you ever drive it through Wadina's team makes the best Eggnormous burrito because they wrap it like there's just a cultural norm there that just understands how to wrap a burrito, and it is so good. Anyway, side note. So, my name is Brandon, for those of you who don't know. Hi, pleasure. And I am trying to get rid of a phone call on my watch. Thank you. And I office out of all of these places. Today I'm up in Park Rapids because Katie made me go out last night and stay out too late. So I slept here. And
Not in
fast
the
food.
office. He didn't sleep in the office. He got a
That's no, I slept
hotel.
at the hotel.
Just
Yep, that's
FYI.
yep, good clarity. I was smart enough. I had an extra shirt and underwear in my overnight bag. It was great. Anyway, so oh god, fast food. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm really into Hardee's lately. Okay, their chicken, like it's not quite Raising Cane's level chicken. I'm gonna be honest with you, Jay, but it's like a tier below, and to not have to drive to St. Cloud to get it, pretty awesome. Anyway, so that's where I'm going to start with you today. So, okay, cool. A couple other things. I appreciate that, by the way. I would like to know, what are you hoping to get out of here? Is there other? So I kind of gave you an idea of what I'm looking to do. Katie's going to help out with the listing lab here. So an idea of what we're going to give you, the deliverables on the end of this. Is there something else you're looking for, or you would like to cover within the listing lab here over the next 3-4 weeks?
Just anybody start?
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Okay. I want to beat the heavy hitters. I want to land those
Okay.
big listings. I want to outshine them as far as my listing presentation, to where I'm beating out the Jimmy Christensens and the Chad Schwendemans for listing these better marketed values.
It's kind of like the
Awesome.
Vision Quest movie. You're after the what was his name? Cooch or whatever. The Vision Quest from the 80s, that movie. That's before your time, but
Yeah, I was born in the 80s, Mike.
yeah, I know.
I'd rub that in.
Good. Anything else that anybody wants to cover? It could be scripts, could be dialogues, could just be you're just looking for ideas on how to expand what you already have. Doesn't matter.
Well, I would say, I've been doing this 20 some years, but anytime you can get on a call like this, where you're on a call with fellow agents, other leadership people, I think you're always going to learn something. You're going to pick things up just by spending time with, rubbing elbows with your, your colleagues and all that. I mean, it's, everybody wants to sell more real estate. Everybody wants to list more property. Everybody wants to make more money. That's a great motivation. But learning everything and picking up little bits and pieces as you can, I think, is huge. So even for me, I'm excited to hopefully pick some more stuff up about the brand. I think knowing your brand is huge, especially in a Coldwell setting. So that's what I'm looking to do.
Awesome. Anybody else got anything? I'm just taking notes down here, by the way, in case you're wondering what I'm doing. Okay. Well, sounds great. So, like I said, really, today is going to talk a little bit about, kind of the framework of what we're doing. Okay. So I'm going to encourage you to grab a sheet of paper. I am going to send you some stuff afterwards, by the way, but I want you to grab a sheet of paper, grab your notebook. And here's kind of the first thing I really want to talk to you about is the introduction of the 17 building blocks. And so the way that this starts is that these are the things that I think need to be covered while you are working towards listing a presentation. Okay. And so I want to share these with you to start. And like I said, I'm going to send these to you. I got to get my document. Here you go. And so these are the ones that I have for you right now. Okay. So these are the 17 that I've started with. The first one is the introduction and personal story. When we talk about the impact that we have inside of the space of real estate, people, the old adage of they work with people they know, like, and trust, right? They oftentimes will work with you based upon relationships, affiliations, the things that you do, right? The more they see you. And that's the space where the personal story of why you do this is incredibly important. And that really comes into the aspect of your your testimonies and your about you statement, right? And so A couple of years ago, we did a training with a good friend and fellow speaker of mine named Matthew Rathbun. He did a training for us that was all about building out your bio, your biography, right? And he had I will send you the training video for that as a follow up. And it's incredible. It's an hour long ish, I want to say, where we kind of had a conversation about how do you actually move forward and build out this story. In the event that you don't know, ChatGPT is a great place to start. Remy is a great place to start as well. You would be shocked how well they know you. And there's a lot of great things inside of there. But that is something that, again, the personal story, everybody wants to know why you do this, right? There's 1.34 million of us. There is, a significant amount of options that exist in each of our market spaces. So somebody wants to know, why should they want to know about you? In the nicest way, you don't need to spend a bunch of time at the meeting talking about yourself. They can learn about that at a later time if you're still looking to build that rapport component. Okay. So that's the first component here, is this introduction and personal story. This next one is this agenda and what to expect. And so some of you might say, Brandon, I don't need an agenda. I'm just going to follow the thing. That's totally fine if you don't need one. Okay. I'm going to tell you that many personalities in the world like to know what's coming. Okay. They want to know. And the reality is you can set an agenda and not follow it. Guilty. Okay. By the way, however, you can also set an agenda and follow it. If you're feeling nervous and you're not quite sure how to transition into the next topic, into the next part of the presentation, this is a really great way to do so. But it sets an expectation for all the people involved as to what we're going to do, when we're going to talk about things, and why we're going to move forward. Okay. Next one here. I'm going to break this into maybe two parts here, right? So market overview and local expertise. This is an opportunity for you to really, really shine. Okay. So, what do you do with local expertise? Okay, well, so you can talk about not only your proof of concept, right? So how many transactions did you do? What does that look like? If you don't have a large book of business, rely on the brand, the office, the company, right? There's a bunch of stats there that you can really dial into why you are a local expert inside of this space, okay? And then the whole idea around this proof of concept is it can be a simple one pager. It can be, more of a text-based thing. I like graphics in this area, but it's still an opportunity for you to have that conversation to prove that you actually do know what you're talking about, right? This market overview, everybody is going to ask the question. Anytime they learn that you're in real estate, they always ask you,
How's the market?
How's the market?
How's the market, right? Okay. And of course, the old adage is, well, it depends. Are you looking at buying or are you looking at selling, right? So it's the way to go. Everybody's going to want to know about this. There's a reason that we send you the monthly market snapshots, right? Because everybody wants to know how the market is. And even if you don't use those social graphics, it's still good information for you just to look at and be like, oh, my market was up, it was down, whatever. So Faith sends those out. I actually think she sent them yesterday. Okay, Katie's nodding her head. Thank you. Appreciate that. So you should have seen those. And it's a really easy way. This is it's a simple way to set a baseline of what's going on in the market. Okay. Absorption rate is a big one that we track. That's the month supply determining a buyer or seller's market. Katie's done a nice training on InfoSparks to help you get that information if you're ever stuck on some of that data. Otherwise, you can just pull the graphic that Faith will send on the latest one, and it'll give you an update. Because at the end of the day, and you're going to hear me say this a lot, I believe that no listing presentation should be exactly the same. Okay. What I'm talking about is I want to give you the building blocks so that you have them, and then you tweak the order, you tweak the content based upon the client who's in front of you. But you should not, in my opinion, have a stock presentation that you go to every single time and just wash, rinse, repeat, unless it's absolutely killer. And then that's fine, right? If you have a killer one, then let me know, because then I want to hear it. Okay. But my argument is every single listing presentation is customized, is unique, and a differentiator. The good thing is we can systematize a lot of it, which is what we're talking about here in the listing lab. Now, pricing strategy and CMA. I put this one a little higher on the list, and I do this because I find so here's my unique approach to it. This is like the first thing I do, okay? So Brandon does this in a 2-part series, just for the record, okay? Here's part 1. and then this is part 2. And I believe in a 2-part series. So what do I mean by a 2-part series? It means that if Regina's going to have me out to her house to list it, everything in yellow, I'm going to send to her before I even get to the door, right? And this can be done through, depending upon your market size, it can be done by physically dropping a package off, which is kind of sexy, right? I've seen some agents do it with like a bottle of wine or chocolates, or like, here's a big market summary overview that looks great, and you can read it if you want. RPR, by the way, is a great resource to pull market data if you really want like a seller's report. You guys familiar with RPR? Okay, couple of nods, good. That one's got an incredible value add tool inside of there, which if you don't know, we can show you. But this is a 2-part, right? So if Regina's calling me out, great, appreciate the call, Regina. Let me come out. I want to spend 20 minutes at your house, right? I just want to do a quick walkthrough and get all my information, taking all my notes. I use my intake sheet and off I go. Then I start working on my CMA. But now, before I leave Regina's house, I'm going to set my second appointment, right? And that's where I'm going to go through all the green stuff. But between my first walkthrough and my second appointment, then I'm going to cover all the things in yellow, right? So it's a 2-phase approach is how I always like to look at this. And again, I'm not saying it's right. It's just what I'm saying that is I have found to work for me. I'm trying to give you the information. You got to decide, trial and error, what's going to work well in your business. But everybody I've coached, I tell them about the 2-step process. That's usually what they like doing, and they find really good success with it because it extends your connection with the contact to build more rapport. You consistently have a reason to be reaching out. You consistently have a reason for them to actually pick up your phone, okay? So, Joy, thanks. Katie, did you get that?
I did.
Okay, appreciate you. Hi, Joy. So then we start talking about the pricing strategy. So I do this first again because everybody wants to know, how much money is my house worth? That's the whole reason they want you there. And I like to just get it out of the way right away. Okay. I literally walk in and Regina, I'm going to pick on you today because you're right next to me on my Zoom call. And I'm just going right. It's like, hey, Regina, I really appreciate you having me out today. I know the number one question you want to know is how much money am I going to get for this thing, right? I'm going to tell it to you right now so that you can quit thinking about it. And then we're going to come back to it and we're going to build into the plan on how we're going to get you that much money. Okay. So then I always lead with, boom, here's what the market is telling me your home is worth. I always say a range because, again, I want buy-in from the consumer and my client. I want buy-in on the price point. I never give an exact price. Some people really like to give an exact price because they feel it makes me the expert. Totally fine. History would tell me that this is an art, not science industry. And it just sort of depends upon the market conditions, how the seller's feeling that day during their divorce, and what's the difference they're going to be able to sell for and communicate, right? There's a lot of factors that go into what somebody's going to accept for a deal on any given day. So I don't, you can, I'm not telling you it's wrong, right? If you want to say this thing is $398.7 and it's going to sell like that, it's totally cool. Brandon's going to walk in and say, hey, Regina, I really appreciate that. My range is going to tell me you're somewhere between like 387 and probably like 405. Right? Or something. I'm going to give a little bit of a range there. And I'm going to cap it based upon what I actually think the property is going to do because I want them to buy in by helping me set a strategy, but I'm also going to be really clear on the fact that I don't want them going above a certain range that I think is going to hurt them. And then we kind of build through that. So then we start talking about the pricing strategy, right? And how we're going to land there. Then we talk about the CMA, right? The comparable market analysis. This is super slick. What's been really fun, by the way, is I've seen, just yesterday, Keegan even shared, she used it for a CMA. She used Remy, our new AI tool, for a CMA. The Crosby team, I know you guys have been working on it and it's awesome. And I know there's been some CMAs that have been pumped through there too. Now, is Remy perfect on the CMA? No. Absolutely not, because he's a bot, right? Like, he's a nice guy. He's classy, very kind. He doesn't have emotions, as Keegan informed me, but nevertheless, he's still nice. And I think there's really great ways to kind of start that quick CMA thing, right? And so, like, I will often use Relist. I'll use their AVM. I'll use RPR's number. I'll use Zillow's estimate just to see what they think. Because in some markets, right, like West Fargo and some of the larger developments, those estimates going to be actually pretty accurate. You come down to Lake Country and the estimate's a complete shit show and nobody's going to know. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I'm sorry. It's going to be a complete disaster, right? Like on the whole thing. So it's a variable on how that works through. But you can start talking about the pricing strategy and the market analysis as it comes through. This is probably what 90% of agents think is the only thing you talk about in a listing presentation. And I'm going to tell you, this is like the thing you should spend the least amount of time on. Okay. The least amount of time on is the CMA, because at the end of the day, most clients don't care about how you got to the number. They care about the number. It's just that simple. So even I know some people will actually take the CMA and the pricing strategy, and they'll put it in phase one. Now, I've tried this and it's backfired because I didn't have an opportunity to back up why I landed on the data, okay, or why I thought this certain property wasn't worth X. But I know some people that do it this way, and they use it as a filter for their business. If I went through the work and I sent you all the information, I told you what to expect, who I am, and everything else, and then I call you between step 1 and step 2 to confirm our step 2 appointment, and you never affirm that, I've just cut out and saved an hour and a half out of my day from somebody who isn't interested in working with me because I didn't have enough social proof, right? So like you start getting enough business, this is a way that you can actually, just by moving one building block, I've seen agents cut and basically allow clients to self-select out of working with them, which I think is kind of cool. However, I will tell you, I personally don't like that strategy. That's just me. I'm not telling you it's wrong. I'm just telling you that's where I'm at. So, so that's kind of the big one there. So here's the marketing plan. Okay. So what are you actually going to do for this thing? What are you going to do for a property? Okay. This comes down to a little bit of, like, I would say a menu of services could be a really easy thing, to do inside of this, right? Like it's not a big thing. You can use, I really like to also add on the listing concierge tool from Coldwell Banker. It's a way to kind of transition from one pricing structure to another, right? And helping you move up the commission scale. Speaking of your menus of services, this is where you start talking about your pricing. Again, what do you charge? I no longer believe in cooperating compensation. Never have, actually. Fun fact, I've been doing this since 2004. Never have I believed in cooperating compensation because I never really liked the idea of somebody else telling me what I was worth on a job. I just didn't like that. It didn't make sense to me that I just had to, and I was taught this, you just accept whatever cooperating compensation is in the MLS. Like that's what I was taught when I first got into this business. And so I did that the first couple of years. And then as I started to think about it, I was like, this doesn't make sense to me, team. Like I just did a ton of work for this client. I did, I started with buyers, as most new agents did, right? And I was like, I did 4 different mailings. I went through 12 different FSBOs for this person. Like I worked my tail off only to get, at that time, 2.7%. No, that's garbage. Like I worked way more harder than that on like a $200,000 deal, right? So then I started to look at, tiering my pricing structures on the buy side. And then I started to go, well, if I can set a price point over there, why can't I set it over here? So then about 10 years ago, I started implementing a tiered service plan for both buyers and sellers. All of a sudden I saw my commission rate go on an average of I think it was 3.2 on listings up to, I think I averaged 3.8 on listings now. All because I introduced a tiered menu of services. And as prices have risen, it's actually pretty killer. So like my top tier on my menu of services is 4, right? And then I think I'm down to 3.7 and 3.5. I don't think I do anything less than 3.5 right now. And then I have 2 price categories as well, which will show you all that information too. The communication plan. This is another building block that's going to be pretty important. People, and this is where I failed and learned early on, that Friday mornings, Brandon calls all of his sellers. That's what I do because I sometimes forget to call people. But we talk about like things like list track, right? Like we're going to send you the list track report on what activity is going on online. I'm going to plan to reach out to you on Fridays at, between that and Friday morning, I think is what my documents say. Friday morning, I'll reach out to you about a plan that's going into the weekend. And then I will reach out to you in between Fridays if something is relevant. And I always invite people to contact me if they need anything, right? Like, it's not like it's a hard stop. It's just that this is when you can expect a communication from me, because it stopped all of those quick calls and all of those quick things. It was like, if you knew you were going to get 10, 15 minutes of my time on Friday morning, you would be shocked how many people just plan and write it out. It was kind of like a therapist. You just create the list of like, oh, I want to talk to my therapist about this issue and this issue and this issue. Then I just say, here's your realtor list. You want to talk to me about this issue and this issue and this issue. Sometimes it's real estate. Most of the time it's not, but that's just how life goes in this industry. So a communication plan is incredibly helpful. One of these, again, this is another one, home prep and staging. Maybe you have as part of your value add on your tiered menu of services, you have staging included, right? And what does that look like? Maybe you have opportunities to bring that in. Technology and innovation. What are you going to do, and what technology are you going to use to actually elevate this whole thing? And this is an opportunity for you to showcase the brand, showcase our technology. Like, this is when I'll talk usually about Listrak. This is when I can talk about MLS, key lock boxes, because you'd be shocked, by the way. So many people think they understand what MLS is. They really don't. I just heard a story the other day of somebody that said, oh, you can show me properties that you're not the listing agent for. Yes, I can, right? Like, it's simple stuff like that. Or people, even lock boxes. It amazes me when people say, whoa, you can control a lockbox from your phone? Yeah, I can. And I know exactly who opens it. And I know exactly when they open it versus a combo, right? Because once you give somebody that combo, they have it, right? And how many horror stories have we heard about how that usually ends poorly for people, right? And I know Fargo specifically was dealing with squatters over the winter and empty houses with all the new construction that's been going on. So like, all you need is a combo, and once you get it, you have it. It's not a great situation. So don't undersell the technology that you've been using for a decade plus, because it is valuable. There's a lot of value in the MLS and the syndication to about 280 different websites. Your Coldwell Banker value add syndicates to about 600 different websites. So between the two, and while some of them overlap, like, that's about, I want to say, I think it's like 750 different websites that you get syndicated through by them hiring you versus hiring somebody at ABC Realty, right? So there is value in that. You want to make sure that you're addressing some of that. I want to come back to this unique value prop here because that's a big differentiator. Social proof and testimonials. Some people will actually push this up into phase one as part of the kind of what your personal story and your local expertise. But it is important to have testimonials and social proof, right? Especially if you're doing some high-end marketing and that becomes a value add of what you're doing. You want to be able to have some proof of concept on what that looks like. Neighborhood and lifestyle highlights. This, again, some people will move up to a phase one, right? Like this, we don't need to cover this in person, but I want you to understand that I know your area. I know this community. Kind of goes along with some of that local expertise, especially if you have neighborhoods, which some of our markets, we do have specific neighborhoods that are worthy of a conversation. Sometimes you don't, and that's fine. But it's still a big thing. And the lifestyle highlights is a big component to that too, right? Like, how are you going to sell a lake home if you don't go to the lake, right? Like, you can't sell the vision. You can't talk about what's going on. Like, it's just, there's some concepts there that you just have to be familiar with. So you want to understand that lifestyle. Now, phase two, milestones and timeline. This goes back to the agenda and what to expect, okay? Most consumers feel that you have no idea what you're doing and you don't actually deserve the commission you earn. And that's on us as an industry because we don't tell people and we solve a whole bunch of problems without ever telling them, right? So you'll hear me always say, that was an incredible problem to solve. Make sure you tell your client that. And some clients, like, you overwhelm them with stuff you're doing. And some clients, they're like, I want a text update every time you breathe about my property, okay? And so you try to meet people where they are. But at the end of the day, the timeline and the milestones is really good because you want to set expectations, right? So going back to my favorite expectation to set on a timeline is price reductions. Okay. So I always tell people, I used to say it was 7 and 7. I'm not quite there anymore. Now I'm like 10 and 10 is what I say. It's 10 showings or 10 days. Whichever one comes first, it tells me we missed the mark. Okay. 10 showings, 10 days. We need to understand something. We know that the data right now in Minnesota, it takes on average about 3.7 showings per sale. So that tells us that we have an opportunity. If we price correctly, we shouldn't have an issue. Okay. We should at least get something. And usually the old adage of your first offer is your best offer. Somehow it still holds true by the laws of economics. So there's a lot that goes into that space. So understanding the timeline of milestones is really, really big. Compliance and overview, you would be shocked how many people find value in the fact that you have somebody else looking over your shoulder, right? You need to sell your managing director, me, Katie, Sean, Christine, as a part of your team to ensure compliance on these very important legal documents. You can also use Christine as an add-on as our compliance officer to say, not only are you going to have me with an expertise, but I understand that I'm human. I make mistakes. There's 2 other people behind me making sure that we write your deal well to advocate for you. Oh, and by the way, when you hire me, they come with me as part of that package. Okay. Now, does everybody have that? Well, everybody's going to have a broker, right? For sure. Unless you are the broker. But that's okay. I sell Katie and Christine and Sean as my value add too. So the idea is that you still have more people on your team than not. And the same thing, by the way, speaking of that, when you talk about the marketing, that can also be part of the marketing plan. You can also bring faith in, right? Like you have a graphic designer who's dedicated and a marketing specialist who's dedicated to helping you in your business. And that's a value add that you can bring. You can also talk about Remy. You have a personal assistant, transaction coordination, all of these different things that you can kind of swirl into a good presentation. Seller education, what to expect. Again, this is one of those that some people will move up to phase 1. Some people like to talk about it. Here's how this process is going to go. This is one that I like to talk about in the meeting because it's going to be specific to my book of business. It's going to be specific to your book of business, is how is this process going to go, right? Then we're going to talk about how are we going to track this thing, right? If you're going to pay a top tier commission rate for me, and then we're going to talk about a marketing plan, then we're going to talk about a communication plan and all these other things. How in the world are we going to actually monetize this thing and give you some sort of a report card, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, along the way? By the way, that's where you use ListTrack because it's a report card. It shows activities, it shows impressions, it shows who's saving it, like all these other things. But we can also use the seller reports from Bay, right? It has really good comparable data that will send them updates on an automatic basis on comps that fit their market space. You can use RPRs. Like there's lots of tools, right, and technology that we have available to help you build your business and your presentation. And then lastly, of course, is this next step. Here's what's coming next. And that's when you actually go for, the close and saying, what's going to prevent you, based upon everything that we're hearing today, what do you think? Does it sound like we're a fit? Does it sound like we're aligned? And this is where you're going to read the conversation as you go through it, and you're ultimately going to know, yeah, they're going to sign or they're going to need more time, and then it's going to change the trajectory on how you go, right? Appointment number 1, I get agency signed. This is what I do. I tell them up front, here's the video that I recorded about agency. I would need you to sign this document when I get on site in case you're a spy with the Department of Commerce or the North Dakota Real Estate Commission. Like, I just like my job. I don't want to lose it. So you need to sign this form for me, right? So I make it kind of fun and dorky and all the things. And then I bring the listing contract. And oftentimes I've learned I bring a listing contract, but I leave it empty with all the details other than the address. And the thing that's interesting about that is that a lot of times people will read that as, oh, he didn't come with a presumptive close. This was collaborative. We're going to fill it out right here, right now. And usually I bring the withheld form because that's what I think is the best policy. And that way you're writing it out and it becomes a collaborative effort instead of an assumption that I brought everything filled out, assuming you were going to choose this commission plan, assuming you were going to choose this list price. And I found trial and error, right? The handwritten methodology between it is really good. Some people like to bring their laptop and fill it out and then walk their client through the digital AuthentiSign in person. That's a really neat way to kind of cover that. And you get 2 tracks. It's collaborative and you show them the tools and the technology piece that you have. By the way, digital signature is also a tool that you should be talking about. And they're going to think, oh, everybody has that. Well, maybe they do, but I wanted to make sure you knew that if you wanted to go to Florida over spring break, I can still sell your house for you while you're on the beach, right? Not the end of the world. So these are the 17 that I have. I want to come back to this unique value prop. This is the one some people like to have. They have a secret sauce for their business, right? Like the sexy secret sauce. And if you have one, this is where you talk about it. Okay. It could be your marketing. It could be your sphere. It could be your off-market dealings, like whatever your secret sauce is that makes you awesome. This is where you want to talk about that. And if you go, well, I'm just awesome in general, Brandon. I know you are. You don't have to tell me, but you have to tell them. Okay. So you have to be able to talk about it. Maybe it's the strength of a team, right? Market dominance, whatever it is that you end up doing, you want to have this component as to why they should hire you in all of that space. Okay. So I always talk on agency. It's like, these are all the fiduciary obligations. Everybody's got to go through these. You're going to get these from everybody, right? Like, that's just the way it's going to be. What makes me different, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is going to be how I'm going to advocate for you and how I'm going to advise you. Those are the two words that I use: advocate and advise, right? You can get somebody that's going to be honest, and they're going to hold your stuff in confidence, and they're going to do the basics for you. But what you're going to get from me is advocacy. And it's going to look like this, right? It's going to look like, I'm going to start doing it. We're going to do open houses if you want them. We're going to do custom mailings. We're going to do targeted ads. We're going to do retargeting ads to find the right buyers. We're going to use my sphere of agents in order to help actually bring people in. I'm going to call people and ask them, hey, do you have anybody? I got this coming up. And it's going to be a much more collaborative thing. I'm going to advocate for you in this thing. And then lastly, it's going to come down to the advisement, right? Like, I'm going to advise you along the way to make sure that you're understanding what you need as you make the decisions as it relates to your property. I'm not going to make the decisions for you because it's not my asset. And I always jokingly tell people, it's like, I don't need your business. I'm going to feed my family tonight, whether you list with me or not. So you need to decide what's in your best interest. But I can tell you, here's my list to sales price ratio. Here's my unit count. Here's the number of families I've transitioned last year. Like, there's all these metrics that show that I'm really good at my job. And by the way, I am a for-profit enterprise, right? Like, so I have some of my like quirky little lines that I'll say inside of all this. And you just find that over time on how you're doing with it. So that's how I want to talk about that. Okay, 17 building blocks. What do you think? What did I miss?
What about a seller net sheet with like just kind of, not necessarily a targeted number, but just like an average of your high or low list price?
Yeah, what about it? You want to put one in?
Have you ever seen success with that? Or is that just something you use during the selling process?
Katie, were you going to add something there? Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't do seller net sheets at the beginning of my career, and I had a hard time. A seller, because they wouldn't know all the costs, right? You give them your price. Okay, great. This is what I think it's going to sell for. Because they didn't know all the costs associated with it, or at least an estimated, that was always the holdback for them. But I was in a time where short sales were a thing, foreclosures were a thing, right? People were very tight in the amount of money that they needed out of their house to be able to just get out without bringing money to closing. So I always did a seller net sheet with the pricing strategy and the CMA. That was part of that whole deal. Here's what I think the price is going to be. Here's why I think it's going to be that way. And here's your costs, depending on commission, because we haven't had that conversation yet. That comes after, right? Mm-hmm. And the offer. But here is a basic idea of what you're going to be walking away with. Yep.
Good. What else do you think? There's no right or wrong here, by the way. Like, I'm genuinely interested. Like, did I miss something? Right? Do you see something? Did you like something that you didn't think about before? You're not going to offend me, I promise.
So I loved it. You talk really fast, and my brain can't keep up with you.
It's true. I know.
Is this recorded so I can go back through it a little bit?
It is, yep.
Like 3 more times.
I know. It's a lot to cram in an hour, Joy. I'm so sorry. I promise. I know. But yes, it will be recorded. That I do promise. So,
okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So any other thoughts, comments before I move on?
I would say maybe something along the lines of home readiness. How ready is the home to list today, tomorrow, next week? What needs to be done to get it ready to go on the market and, getting the highest value of the home? What needs to be done?
That's a great point.
Maybe that's under home prep. That's probably in there. Obviously, that's a huge thing when you start walking around these homes and you're looking around going, oh boy, there's a whole door over here. You know,
Yeah.
this room needs to be painted. The corner of the walls got handprints all over them. You know, the handrail going downstairs is black from people dragging their hands down them for 20 years. Blah, blah, blah. Roofs, gutters, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that adds value because it shows knowledge that the agent has, you know, in the inner workings of a home. Maybe looking at the age of the mechanicals, all that stuff. I mean, I don't know if you want to go into all that on your first visit, but it's never a bad idea.
It's certainly not a bad idea, no. And just kind of thinking through, you know, I think there's some really neat. I like that idea personally. I think there's some pretty good components in the home readiness thing, especially if you have in your back pocket. Like, so a lot of times you'll have your vendors, your preferred vendors, right? And having that home, that handyman guy to maybe help out with some of those items is an incredible piece, which is also part of your preferred vendor list, is part of your follow-up plan. It should be part of your annual check-in, by the way, like, hey, you've been in your, this is off topic, right? But hey, you've been in your home for 6 months now. What have you noticed? You know, like, what do you need any help? You need vendors? Like, oh, I don't know, this light switch, we can't figure out what it does. Oh, great. Let me give you the name of my electrician who's fantastic, right? So there's all those kind of things. But anyway, I like that home readiness piece. That's a good one. And yeah, you're right, John. It could maybe be under preparation. You know, and it certainly could be. I was thinking around like staging and stuff, but you could look at that as a different block or the same one. That's a good ad. Appreciate that.
So Brandon, on the home preparation and staging,
you never want to stage a home until the interior is ready to go. You know, whether you get a carpet shampoo, the walls touched up, blah, 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 light bulbs replaced, the whole thing, as we all know. And I know you can branch off of every one of these 17, and you could go probably pick up 10 or 17 more off of, you know, the 17 main ones you have here.
Where is your home tour in preparation to your phase 2?
So when you say home tour, are you like when?
Well, you've never been in the home and you're going in for CMA. How are you able to even do home preparation staging guidance without even seeing it?
Yeah.
Are you assuming you've already done it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what I do in that regard, like when I'm going through the first, my first visit, right? So my yellow items, right? Or doing my on-site visit, my first 20-minute quick walk through the property. That's when I'm making notes on what I see. And I've always had a seller say, yeah, I've never gotten to that, right? I'm sorry, I'm going to work on that. You know, I lived with purple paint on the inside of my stairwell for like 3 years before I got to it, because I was you just learn to live with weird things in your house, right? Until somebody else comes over and then you're like, oh gosh, I can't have that there. So that's what I do. Like on my intake form, I'll just make notes of areas of improvement, right? And like, to me, and I think to Sean's point, there are some things that just need to be fixed before you go to market, period. Not even okay. And we're all going to have differentiators on what those are, right? Like stained toilet seats is a no-go for me, right? Like it's just one of those things, like, you know, and I have 4 kids. I have stained toilet seats. Like, I get it, because my son doesn't wipe his friggin' pee off of the toilet seat. Like, I get it. However, the other no-go for me, and this is a pet peeve of mine, different colored light bulbs. Right? Like if you got a 5,000K next to a 2,300K, you are going to drive my mind crazy. And I don't like it. I want a solid 3,800, 3,700 Kelvin, like nice, warm, bright light, you know? So there's those small things that you have. But that's where I usually make note of that in the walkthrough, is like, oh, we got to fix, you know, this handrail is loose, or we don't even have a handrail here, and this is an FHA potential home, right? Or this door from the garage has, you know, punched a hole. The door handle from the service door of the garage has punched a hole in the sheetrock. We got to get that fixed, right? So that's when I will usually do that. Was that kind of what you were wondering there, Jay?
So you're doing the intake before any of this?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So here, let me walk you through a real basic summary here. Okay, so like a couple things that I'm going to do inside of this space. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to walk through, and this is going to be, you're going to get the initial phone call. Okay. So that's going to happen. You're going to go out, and you're going to do the job there. Next, you're going to do your walkthrough. Okay. Then I'm going to do part 1 of my listing prep. This is just me, of my listing presentation. And then I'm doing my in-person part 2 of my listing presentation, right? So that's kind of how I look at that, is in that space. And so if I follow kind of what I've outlined in that 17 blocks, I would say my green items all happen here, and my yellow items all happen here. That's how I would kind of look at that. And then through my walkthrough, this is when I'm asking questions. I'm looking at my repair list. I'm doing my intake form, which again, I think I've shared with everybody, but if you don't have it and you want it, just let me know and I'll get it to you. And that's usually the process that I'll run through. And I would say, really this time frame here to here, I want less than 7 days if I can get it, ideally, but everything's going to be a little unique and a little different. So you try to work around it as best you can. Does that answer that?
Yep.
Okay. Super cool.
How do you deal with sellers who you go to the walkthrough, right? They're showing you into the house and they're pumping you. Well, just give me a ballpark of what you think the property's worth.
Yeah. So, okay. Great question. So I give them a ballpark. Again, it's a vetting process for me. I don't have time to dick around with people who are way out of the realm of reality. And I think as you've been doing this long enough, you kind of have that gut check. If you have that gut check, that's when I'll use current market data based upon what's our average sale price right now, the median, what does the home look like, our average home. I'm going to use the relist AVM. I'm going to use the RPR. I'm going to use some of those data points to help me understand, like, what does the algorithm tell me a property is worth? Now, if I'm really honest with you, based upon conversations I've had with some of you, I will probably go to Remy and ask Remy to give me a quick CMA on this property before walking into it. And the reality is that sometimes you walk, so I'll hip shot a number for him, but I give him a wide range, usually a $50,000 swing range. And then I say, I understand, Katie, that's a big range, but what I didn't know walking away today was you've done, and this is where I stroke the ego. You've done this update, you've done this, I see this is going to add some value. And I want to refine that for you and massage it to get you a better number, because a $50,000 swing could be the difference between you selling and you not selling, right? So that's where we're going to come back in appointment number 2. As a newer agent, I would tell you just to simply say, you know what? I totally understand you want a range. And honestly, like, you could use the tax market value as your baseline. So, the county says it's worth this. I think, I need to do some research for you to really be able to dial this in and tell you what I think. And if you want to, this is where you could change your script, and you could say, this part of my business is science. It's not art, which I understand. I just flipped the language on you. Okay. But if you need to, you could say, this part is very specific. I don't want to mess this up for you and give you a number that I can't stand behind. I really want to make sure that I do right by you. And I'm going to give you a firmer range when we get together, but know that you have an excellent property and I'm really excited to talk to you about it. That's how I would handle that. How would somebody else handle
it? Well, if the seller is, you get these sellers that are going to demand the highest point of your $50,000 gap, you say, okay, well, 350 to 400. And they're like, no, we want we want to list at 414.9. They want to go to the highest. And what I've been seeing in the market lately is these pre-inspections. Have the home, have the seller have their home inspected. And this is just food for thought a way to kind of push back on them and say, okay, put your money where your mouth is. Let's do a $500 home inspection, and let's look at the list that's going to come up on that home inspection. And if you take care of everything on that home inspection, fine. I'll put it on for you at 416.9. But the house has to be in perfect condition for you to get to that highest point of that $50,000 bracket. I like that. I mean, and to me, it shows the seller has invested into the home. You can show the inspection to potential buyers and say, hey, they took care of all this. So if you do purchase it at the highest price, or give us a very strong offer, there's potentially they don't have to have their own inspection either, and the seller is going to get more money in the end. I kind of like the pre-inspection. I know in some counties in Minnesota, Hennepin and Ramsey, you have to do a home inspection on homes down there before you even list them. It's a housing inspection. You guys have probably heard of them. And I don't know if you guys see that around the lakes area. Anybody doing pre-inspections on homes yet?
Yeah, I would say not required. Obviously, they're not required in any of our markets. But yeah, we are seeing some people do them because it's, even like trusts, that's a really nice thing to do is like, we're not going to repair anything because we don't know anything about the property, but we'll get a home inspection done and we'll just submit that report for you too. That's good, Sean. I like that.
Even people that have been living in the home for 30 years, they get that report. They're going to go, what?
Yeah.
They're going to go, what? That's all this is bad. I mean, you guys all know some of it's just small potato stuff, but some of it's big items that's going to be a black eye for you, and you're not going to get top price for the home.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that's just food for thought on that inspection deal I was thinking about.
No, that's great. I love that. So we're coming up on time here. I want to honor where we are. So I want to show you something really exciting. So as you know, we have Faith who is here for you, right? And Faith has put together this for you, and you're going to get a link of this for me, by the way. Make sure I'm sharing the right thing. Okay, here we go. Dun, dun, dun. Welcome to your beautifully looking listing presentation. Okay, so this is a framework piece for you, and I'm going to show you this. We've added some stuff in here. This is for you to take, rip off, duplicate, and modify. This is based upon our brand. Okay, I fully acknowledge that. I think our brand is super sexy. It's very powerful. I have no problem standing behind it. If you say, Brandon, I love you, dude, but I want to build my own brand. Totally cool. I'm here for you. I want to help you build your own brand. Jay, I know you got your own logo. Put it all over this thing, right? I love that, right? Keegan wants to put a dash of pink in there. I don't know if she's still paying attention, but right, like, great, come in, throw a pink line in there. I don't care. This is your business. We are here to support you. Our team is nothing but a business advocate for your business. What I am going to give you is a starting point, because I know as a real estate agent, we don't sometimes starting is the hardest part. I've already done it for you. Not only are all 17 blocks in here, but there's 37 slides built out for you to be able to customize, tweak, move, and everything else. It's in Canva, right? Recently given to you at the enterprise level, which is also pretty sexy. But this whole thing is going to really drive you through what you have and to work from a presentation perspective, okay? So we have a little bit about the brand. We're going to talk about your personal story, and this is where you're going to add some of those details. Maybe change the photo. Maybe you're going to put the photo of your family or whatever, right? I like to put my kids on there because it makes me human when people see that I have 4 crazy humans, okay? Look at this, meeting and expectations, okay? We talk about local marketing. We talk about market position, strategies. Here's some marketing plan ideas. Fully customized, ready to go. You can change this and tweak this. Here's a menu of services option. This is my basic one, right, that I have tweaked over the years, okay? You can add, expand, and do all sorts of crazy things here if you want, and we can talk more and more about this. You talk, what is this? We talk about buyer's compensation, because menu of service does not include buyer agent compensation, which I still talk about because it still comes through on the PA. You still have to negotiate it. But notice how I'm separating the conversation. I'm talking about my value versus whatever you're willing to compensate a buyer's agent for. And I think, I wish I could remember who recently just negotiated that down to like 1.5 or 2% for the buyer co-op. And the other agent was just willing to do it. And I thought, oh gosh, if any of you decide to work for less than 2%, we're going to have a problem. And in fact, I think if you work for less than 3%, you and I need to have some coaching. But anyway, we're going to talk through the menu of services. We're going to talk about the communication plan, right? What does that look like? We're going to talk about home preparation, okay? Marketing, tools, Unique value proposition, right? We always like to talk about why you market where you market. This is a great slide, right, to why you don't overprice. Some social proof. We talk about neighborhood and lifestyles. We talk about timeline and milestones, okay? Compliance and overview, seller ed, metrics, commitments. Then we talk about some other components here that you have the right to basically drop in, okay? So there's a lot of content in here. It's on the brand rated and everything else. You have every opportunity to customize this however you want to get to where you are, okay? So in a follow-up email, I'm going to send you a bunch of stuff today. You're going to see this link inside of there. In addition to, I'm going to send you a larger copy of my menu of services so you can see it, even though it's there, but I'm going to send it to you. And then you're going to have a little bit of homework that you have to do before next week, okay? And one of those is going to be, and this is what you're going to write down, right? I need your personal intro. I need to make sure your bio is up to date. I'm going to send you the recording of the training. If you haven't updated your bio recently, I believe that's a Q1 activity every year is updating your bio, okay? If you want help with that, please reach out to Sean, Katie, myself. We will help you, right? Redraft that thing however you need to. It's going to take 30 minutes inside of ChatGPT. Like we can get it done, make it funny, quirky, like whatever vibe you're going for, we can get that done. I want you to think about your outline, okay? So when I say your outline with the agenda is I want to go back to the building blocks here. And I want you to think, and I'm going to send you the 17, right? /18, because Regina brings a good point about the net sheet. Okay, so 17/18. I'm going to send these to you. And honestly, what I would recommend, write each one on a Post-it note and put it on your wall and stare at it. And then just start to reorder them, right? Like, what's the order in which I want to present? And think about your past ones. Oh, I actually talk about this here, and I like my cadence into this, right? So I'm going to move these three around. And you might go, oh wait, I always talk about this, right? Okay, boom. I'm going to put that on the board. And there's nothing wrong. These are they're building blocks, right? You can add more, you can take away. Again, it's your business. I want to be really clear. I also want to see a draft of your menu of services for listings, okay? You can use mine or you can tweak it. You can ask Remy, right? Remy will give you some great ideas on things to drive value for your commission as well. And then in addition to that, with the outline of your service is the outline and agenda you're going to give to your client, because this is the one that I think is interesting to hear different people's perspectives on. Okay. So again, I need your bio and your personal intro is going to be updated. I want your block, your skeleton structure of how you want this done. Okay. And the order of which you're going to go. I want your menu of services draft updated. And then I want kind of a rundown of what to expect from the consumer. What are you going to hand to them to say, this is what we're going to do in this process? Okay. Because again, some of us don't fly well with agendas and everything, but I promise you that most consumers want to know the order because they don't do this every day, right? They just don't. And some of those analytical brains and the engineers in the room are going to go, well, yeah, of course you need to know a plan. Yeah, right. I saw you, Jay, right? Like you want to walk through the details. This guy doesn't do that, but I know that my clients need it. They need that safety net. And so I want to give them that, which is why those are the 4 things. You're going to get an email summary of what matters. In addition to those 4 things, you're going to get a link to create your own copy of Canva of this template that I just showed you. I'm going to send you a copy of my menu of services. And I think that was all that I'm working on right now. Is that all I'm sending you? Or did I say I would do something else?
Make sure you send the intake form. You said you
I have I have a whole list.
Oh, perfect, Katie. Would you put intake form on there? I appreciate that, Jay. I'll just send that so that it's easy. Yeah, that's just fine. Okay, cool. That's all I have for you for right now. Was this helpful to get your brains churning?
Yeah.
Okay, Regina looks like her mind is going to blow, so that means we did good things. Joy dropped off the call because I talked too fast, so I'm sorry, Joy. But she can watch it back. I think there's the ability to slow it down maybe too. I just get so excited, you guys. I can't help it. Keegan came back on camera just to say goodbye to everybody. Well done. Okay. So here's the deal. We next week we're going to go through the next thing, but your entry ticket is I need to see those 4 things done before you get into next week's call where we're going to expand on the next process. So like, I'm not kidding you when I tell you like, this is going to be, we're trying to get shit done. This is part of that ticket and to really help you guys launch it and get ready for Listing League. Okay. So Katie's got a big list for me to send to you, which I appreciate, Katie. Thank you for that. So we'll get that out to you guys. And if you need anything in the meantime, do not hesitate. Give a call or text to me or any of the other MDs. We would be happy to help you out and walk through some of this. If you want to grab some time with me or anybody on a one-on-one, to say, I'm stuck on this. What do you think? Totally fine. We can do that for you too. So with that, I'm sorry I kept you an extra 8 minutes. I just get excited about fun things. Email coming your way. We'll see you guys in 1 week right here, same time, same place. All right. Bless you guys. Adios.
Thank you.